Julius, your mic. Yeah.
Good day.
Hi. Um, Good day indeed. How are you?
Um, Not that good. I had a bit of a headache and maybe some anger about some stuff I was thinking about. How about you?
Wow, that was concise. When people ask me, I always try to find a way to make it just like two sentences, but it's often like six sentences. Yeah, I guess for me, I am doing okay. I'm nervous, but also okay. Yeah.
Nervous about what?
Um, I I love my addictions and I see all the bad effects of them. And I'm like, I have to stop this. And last night I wrote a list of all the addictions I want to just stop for as long as I can. And I'm really nervous about doing that. I don't have a lot of faith that I can.
You mean in our conversation as well?
Uh, no, mostly my addictions. I'm
Yeah.
concerned about you know, just discontinuing them. I'm nervous about keeping that going. I've got
Okay.
no,
And
yeah.
yeah, is
I've
it
got
more
no
social or physical?
more physical, but yeah, a few social.
All right.
Like one thing that I do is I'll just take a moment to describe this. Um, when people, I think, like I remember years ago, I was listening to AJ saying, if you're not practicing what I'm telling you, you have to ask yourself why you're even listening. And I thought about that and I'm like, okay, why am I listening? Because I'm not practicing it for the most part. And I think the reason for me is that when I was young, I was told a lot of things in my religion, and I was like forced to believe them, and I hated that. And people even every day now still tell me many things that they want me to believe, and so now I can respond with divine truth teachings, and I can say no, this is what I believe, and there kind of thing. Does that make sense?
So basically now because of this thing of being told things now uh, from people, now you at least feel like you have some sort of answer to that. Like
Yeah,
you have a stance, you have some sort of stance, and you're not like, which gives you some kind of a rock to hold on to. Even if it's just some intellectual knowledge that makes you less at the hands of what others are telling you. Um, but for the moment, basically, that means you kind of, because it meets that, it's kind of enough that you have that intellectual knowledge of more than something more truthful than what people are telling you. Um, but it's not yet a motivator to apply it.
actually change. Yeah. I mean, when I
Yeah.
was young, like people would say, "Oh, um, when Adam and Eve had fell, it was a sex act," and I'm like, okay, and like they'd say all kinds of religious ideas, and I
Yeah.
just have to say, okay, I don't know how to respond to that. I mean, and everybody in my community believed that, and we were forced to believe it. Just
All
that as
right.
a and I had nothing as a child. I had no, I didn't have any intellectual capacity to respond. And now I've studied a lot of different religions, and now I have a way to respond. And in my opinion, what I have been listening to makes more sense than that. Even if I don't fully
Yeah.
believe it, I can still like like I feel like there's a certain strength in my response rather than the weakness I normally showed when I was a kid.
Yeah, and it would make you, well, like, at least what brings up to me is it would make me quite angry to be like, it's basically oppression to be told in but forced upon those lies that, and because they're not in harmony with truth, there's also always big problems around love and what that makes you feel, like, yeah, like, like, what are the implications of the people telling you that? It's really painful, and that, at least for me, that brings up anger. And
Definitely, definitely. Like for me, it's like I realize that actually, if someone is telling me something and they're being forceful, and I didn't ask them, I need to tell them, please stop talking to me about that. You know, that's the correct response. I shouldn't like tell them stuff that they didn't ask for, but that's what I do. So that's the addiction. So like my way to stop that is to just say that instead of telling them divine truth material, you know?
I understand. Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, thanks for joining, man. So I'll just give some context. This is all being recorded right now, and we can check later if we want to post it up. Um, but I um, I've been following the Divine Truth material for about 10 years. And when I say following, it's not in the sense of practicing, as I talked about before, necessarily. Although I feel that I've put some of the things I've learned into practice. Um, but many times when I'm talking to people about Divine Truth, I feel like the conversation has value, and I want to put that up somewhere, post it up so that other people can listen to it as well. And I felt this way for a few years, but I've never really found a way to um, actually record a conversation well. And recently, I got in contact with Helena Sue Martin, who um, lives in Australia near AJ and Mary, who teach the Divine Truth. And I offered to interview her because she's interesting to me, and she approved. She said, "Yeah, let's do it." And so now I'm testing out the software I want to use, which is Zoom, and I'm recording this interview with Julius, who has also been listening to the Divine Truth material for some time. How many years, Julius?
Um, what is it? December 2018. That makes it, yeah, 6.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and by
Oh
the
wait,
way, yeah,
7. No. Yes. What? Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. Go on.
yeah, so 19. Yeah, that sounds about right. Um, and I should also say that, you know, how the length of time you spend listening doesn't necessarily correlate to any progress in love you have made. But yeah,
No,
so
it
this
doesn't. No.
yeah, so this is a test recording that I'm making with Julius, and I wanted to interview you, Julius, you know, just because, you know, we talk about divine truth, and he's game to talk about some things. So, and he's kind enough to let me test this software and see if the recording comes through well enough. And if everything goes well, we might post this. So,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know
See.
what to
Let's
say
see.
next. Do you have any thoughts on it?
Um. Oh well. Other than that, yeah, I guess. Yeah, interviewing Helena is probably yeah, is probably is definitely a good thing, and probably more valuable than interviewing me at this point in time, but see how it goes. And um, hope I'm not self-deprecating there a little bit,
Yeah.
but yes. So let's go.
Yeah. All right. Well, one thing, Julius, you and I have talked about is that um, if you've heard the divine truth teachings, you're aware that there's like an area of the spirit world known as the hells, and it's in the spirit world, but basically it's also a condition of love that you can have while you're on Earth. And basically, most people on Earth are in a condition of hell. Um, if you talk to my sister, she'll tell you that doesn't make any sense because she thinks everything is pretty okay, but or the world
Hmm.
is in an okay shape or as good as you can expect. I think there's a famous play with a famous character, and I don't remember the name, but basically throughout the play, he repeats the phrase, "This is the best of all possible worlds," and I think that attitude is almost criminal because to me, there's so much that's clearly wrong with the world.
Yes.
And if I look
Yes.
at myself, I feel the same way. There's so much currently wrong with me. But anyway, Julius and I have decided we're probably somewhere in the hells, and I think we both have some desire to get out of them. But it's probably good to mention that at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not sure how much this is still the case after Jesus and Mary's tour in last year, but at least for me, and I mean, I think for a lot of people, there was a lot of, um, and maybe still is a lot of, what's the word? Delusion about where we're at. Like it was quite strongly the case for me in the very beginning, even though my life was very bad. Um, I believed myself to be somewhere much better than I am. So I guess it's maybe important to state just for kind of a. I think yeah, most most people are in the hells, and most people that from what I understand, and most people that listen to Find Truth are in the hells. And it's also important as a disclaimer of what I am talking about, what we are talking about is a testimony of people in the hell. So it's much better to listen to people who are out of the hells, who are in a better condition. And there's not many, but there are some, and so I think that's good to know. Um, don't take what we're saying for face value, because we haven't got much of a clue at this point, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I heard AJ say recently that the difficulty he has with teaching divine truth is that he has to use human language, which is developed to the point that it's developed now. And the thing about like using whatever words you're using is that if you don't have the proper feeling behind it, or rather like a
Yeah.
loving, aligned with God, in harmony with love feeling behind what you're saying, then there really isn't the same value.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, that
so
makes
I don't
sense.
know. I guess I didn't think too much about what to say. Let me ask you this: how much time do you want to give? And yeah, let's start with that.
Um, yeah, maybe about an hour. I think that's the longest I can have people listen to me. Um, yeah, I think yeah, that's maybe a good, you know, good time frame. I also want to spend some time today to reflect, and until now I've done. just some work around the house, and then I might budge on some principles later on. There's plenty of stuff in my life that I need to. Is that a correct way to saying to budge on, or to um
No, not really.
to work on,
Um,
basically.
yeah,
Um, yeah.
cool. Yeah, man.
I
Well,
forget. Yeah. So that's
um,
that.
cool. Yeah, and I think it's maybe good to note that, when you do give your time, it is something that is valuable. Um, so I do appreciate you giving me even an hour. Um, I have to work on appreciating how valuable my time is. And I think
Mm,
when I engage my time in addictions, I'm not really
mm.
appreciating, what it is I can
Yeah.
do with my time. Yeah,
Yeah, that's very true.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. One question I have for you, and if you don't want to go in this direction, we don't have to. But I've been thinking about how you have been to some recent events where AJ and Mary have hosted, and
Yes.
you were courageous enough to ask questions and courageous enough to expose some of your sins, which you seem to have some idea of, yourself. But and and in response, you were given feedback, and you were also told to not return for the time being to future events. And my question is that for me, I think would be very difficult. And how do you, there are a lot of people that receive feedback and they don't want to have anything to do with divine truth anymore. But it sounds like you are not in that position. And I want to know, like, how do I formulate this question? Like, how do you feel about the feedback you got? Are you like really upset? Are you kind of stoic? Are you like denying it? Are you working on it?
Well, just to give a bit of more background, so I have been to Australia pretty much half a year after I heard about it, which was kind of late 2019. And I've been given lots of feedback there, of which most of, especially the first days at God's Way, I cannot remember. I cannot remember because it's like, it was so outrageous to me. I felt so, I'm laughing, but I felt so told off. It was like, um, you know, somebody talking to me. I was just shutting, like it felt like my ears were shut. I don't remember. Um,
Yeah.
which is a pity. Um, I know Mary made that um, talked about a similar thing in 2014 assistance groups, where she mentioned The Simpsons, how the dog sees the people, where they're just moving their mouth, but you can't understand them.
Yeah.
It was like that, but in a bad way. Like, when you're feeling told off as a child, and you just like, there's a saying in German where that means like that is like you're opening all the windows of the house and you let it go through, kind of thing.
Mm,
Um, but where I wanted to get with that is that, so I have been told things already a while ago, and I just heard a very tiny bit of it, and even that has helped to some degree to to move on in my life. And basically, I have then been presented. I came up through some inspiration with some of and help from others with more awareness as to these problems 5 years later, just before the talks they were giving. And so initially I was given a lot of time and feedback and positive affirmation about me discovering this, although late. And then I kind of was like very happy, and according to Mary, feeling like it was all done and that I don't need to go through any pain. And then I was again gifted more, like, so that was the first talk, Austria, and then I was gifted more time in Portugal during the talks and during informal talks. And I was still not, I guess, shifting on it. So eventually, after continuing what they like abusive, like not changing the sin, and which means you're gonna continue doing what you're doing, not being aware of how what they said to me actually applied to things I was doing directly, like in my case on like what I was doing around getting to the talks, that they eventually asked me to leave, and not come back until I had changed. So that's for that. Now, that was a bit lengthy, but yeah, go on.
Can we just try to give like one example? What I remember is you were asking for some assistance with lodging, and you were a little bit maybe selfish with that, or inconsiderate of the plans that people were making. Would that be fair to say?
Oh yeah, well, very briefly said, my feedback is that I'm I'm taking advantage of people, especially of women, from women, and during the events I had pretty much abused women's generosity in like offering to arrange accommodation, to give me accommodation, and I wanted to overextend on the gift that I had already received, or they were actually offering, and loads of things like that. Basically, yeah, wanting to use other people and their resources so I could go there.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's always good to.
Not cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, that itself is not good, but like I appreciate the response. Like to give, it sometimes it's better to be like to give an example, right? I notice AJ and Mary give examples about what they're talking about a lot.
Yeah.
So it's nice of you to be more specific in that area. But yeah, and do you want to say more about any of that? Were you going somewhere with that?
Well, I think to answer your actual question,
Yeah.
which was, maybe you can repeat it, so I don't miss out on what you
Sure. Yeah. Like,
wanted to tell.
what's your reaction to the feedback? Are you angry? Are you in denial? Are you stoic? I guess, which is, denial. And why do you still like want to listen to them? Even now, you still listen to some of the things that they say.
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, that's a lot of questions, but okay, let me see if I can get around to that. So initially, I remember it was in a Thai restaurant in somewhere in England, somewhere close to Derby, and I was presented with this feedback, and it was probably one of the worst days of my life. And how I felt, especially then, I already felt crap before because I had been terribly unloving and angry to a very good friend of mine the day before. And yeah, I mean, it's very hard to describe the feelings and even more to know the truth of what I was actually feeling there. But I just felt just morose, just utter crap. And I guess it's likely that I was in an addiction of just feeling morose in hope um to get away of what I've been told. Because from
Yeah.
what I understand, that's one way we learn to deal with these things as children. Um,
I don't
I
understand. To get
also,
away?
yeah, like as a child, you're told to just say sorry or just feel very bad, and then um,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Um,
Yeah. Can I
to
try to describe what I think you're
yeah,
saying?
yes,
Yeah.
please.
Um, Someone says, Theo, you did something very wrong. And then I say, I'm sorry. And I feel really bad for like the rest of the day. And my mom, let's say, notices me feeling bad. And then she's like, "Oh, look at how bad he feels." Well, I won't
Yeah,
be so upset with him now. And then tomorrow you might still want to do the same thing, but you're let off the hook.
yeah. Yeah, and it's actually more insidious often on the parents' part than more insidious than that they from I heard that recently in a talk they gave very recently that basically it's a way I guess for them to control you because parents don't like to be nasty to you. So if you do it to yourself, they kind of approve of that and it kind of establishes that's just my opinion. That's how I
Sure.
understand, but that power balance back
Mm,
and and the issue is also that you're not actually taught to repair the thing, but you're just kind of um you don't learn that, which would be loving.
yeah.
But anyway, so I that's how I felt immediately, and maybe also to add, I felt it was somewhat unreasonable. I had and maybe I do still probably feel that to a degree, if I'm honest, that I felt and I feel but I tried to change this because I tried to change things physically. And I didn't want to see that I was still doing it. And I felt it was unreasonable that they didn't see that I was, I felt it was
Yeah.
way like I felt, but I'm working on it. And how could I have been asked to already have worked through this? Like this is an outrageous demand that I should have already been able to deal with this.
Yeah.
And I believed, and I think I still want to believe that I'm sincere about it. I wanted to believe I was more sincere about it than I was, and I can, I guess, see in hindsight that I wasn't very much. Um,
And
yeah,
also you asked again, you sent an email to Mary, right?
yes,
And double checked whether you could come back, and she said no.
yes, because friends of mine that were there, they were driving in a car. We had rented a car together, so they were like, "No, you've been definitely asked to not come again," and I didn't want to. I thought it was just like a last warning, but um, they were quite firm and positive that no, that was it, and that's why I sent an email, and that was confirmed.
Hmm.
So yeah, I
Can
didn't want
I
to
can I
believe it was that bad. Is a big part of it. Yes. Anyway, go on.
and it
Yeah.
almost sounds like the same thing as what happened when you were in Australia. where you were told some feedback and you maybe went out of your physical body and spaced out. Is that possible?
Yeah, maybe less so, but because there wasn't a lot of new things, but I definitely, it still feels utterly uncomfortable. There is actually a recording of that Thai restaurant talk, and I haven't been wanting to re-listen to it. Like he didn't say much, but I feel so uncomfortable about going back to it that
Yeah.
um I just haven't. And yeah, I think it's probably true what you said. Yeah, didn't want to be there. Didn't want to be my body. Didn't want to be me anymore.
Yeah. Well, just on that note, and I know you're still answering my question, but like two things. Like I once asked to interview AJ, and
Yes, I remember.
okay, I guess I told you. Um, and I contacted the Divine Truth office. Like he basically said, it sounds like a good idea. I'm busy now, maybe in another several months. Um, I contacted the office again, the Divine Truth office, and I think I got, yeah, I'm pretty sure I got Tristan Miller responding, and he said I had mentioned in my email like maybe one of the reasons why I'm not getting the chance to interview is because of my unloving attitudes and actions towards AJ Mary in the past. And one of those examples is because of I sent a very demanding email to AJ and Mary saying, "You guys are crazy to believe that the Earth is a globe. The Earth is actually flat," which I was very into.
Okay.
Actually, around
Yeah,
the same
yeah, yeah.
time, yeah, around the same time I found the Divine Truth teachings, I was looking into the conspiracy theory that the Earth is flat, which I no longer subscribe to, by the way. But I was very demanding in my email, and Tristan
Yeah.
said, "Yes, you have been unloving," and he referred me to a video where AJ and Mary were talking about people who take initiative and set up their own projects, and um, and people that don't take initiative, but ask AJ and Mary for help, and basically want them to do
Hmm.
something that they, oh, I have this great idea. Why don't you do the work to carry out my
Yeah.
idea? And I was told by Tristan to look at that email or that video because it very much applies to me. I remember when I watched it, I had already seen it, but I didn't assume that it applied to me. And I watched it again, and I was so mad, and I was so like, just this is the worst ever. I can't believe they think this. No, they're wrong. And
Wow.
Tristan, Tristan's wrong. I had so many justifications. I'm like, well, Tristan is AJ Miller's son, and he's not as developed in love as AJ. And I
Yeah.
know many times AJ gives directions to his, office staff, but he probably didn't in this case. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have the same
Tristan must
feeling.
be wrong.
I have the exact same feeling.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, it's terrible.
all that crap. And then it
Wow.
wasn't
Yeah.
until it took me a long time to kind of realize that no, that very much did apply to me. And I think I haven't dealt with all the issues surrounding taking initiative, but I remember it was like
Mm.
another two
No.
years afterwards that I watched the video again and I was in a much better space. And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It definitely applies to me. And yeah, I was totally ready to like absorb some of that stuff in a way I wasn't able to before.
Is that um is that a is that a feedback to Rui and Graham? Was that the two different people?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Graham, yes. I'm not for sure on Rui, but that sounds right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, that one. Uh-huh. Yeah, and actually, by the way, this applies to this as well because I went to two different softwares to try to find a software that I can record well phone calls, and I'm now on Zoom software, and I'm not sure if this is going to work, but thankfully you're helping me with that. But I've been dragging my feet. I'm going to interview if she's still up for it. I'm going to interview Helena like in 8 days, and I should have been more prepared than I am now. So that's an example right there.
Hmm. Well, at least you're taking steps to like test and like do tests and do all these things. That's a responsible thing. Like me, definitely some years ago, I would have just like rocked up at the interview with no preparation.
Yeah.
And I just listened to a recording where Jesus talked about, how tech companies don't do tests anymore.
Huh.
Um, so at least you're doing that. That's good. And 8 days, it's like, I don't know. I don't want to, but it's not the night before that you're doing a
True.
test.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I just see for myself, like in a lot of areas, like especially pursuing my passions, like we talked about this before,
Yeah.
Julius. Yeah.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I want people to give me a truckload of money and to say, Theo, you're a genius. I can't believe we didn't see this before, but you're you're so smart. We noticed this unique potential and intelligence that's specifically inside of you. And here's all this money. And then once they do that, then they'll see my true potential. But until then,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you know, screw them because they
yeah,
don't understand. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's
I don't
kind of
have
what
that
I'm
at all.
saying.
I don't have
Yeah.
that at all.
You
Yeah.
don't have that at all?
No, I'm very much joking. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Right, right.
yeah, so on point. That's very well put. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess this is like an example of an emotion that, probably a lot of people have, and it's just something that it's a belief, it's an emotion, and it's out of harmony with God's principles. One thing I want to say before you continue is that like
Yeah. No,
we've been talking about feedback, and feedback is another way to say it is personal feedback is something that you get from somebody hopefully in a higher condition of love than yourself, and it pertains to how you yourself are out of harmony with God's loving laws and principles. And so you could say, like, there's the truth, there's the divine truth, which is God's truth, the truth about
yes.
God, the truth about the universe, or really human beings and everything else, the universe and animals and plants and the truth of God's laws. And then there's personal feedback, which is like how you are in or out of harmony with those laws. And it's very much often the case that when you do get feedback about how you are out of harmony with God's laws, that it's
Yes.
usually very difficult to hear.
Yes. Yes. It is.
But good.
And it's apparently the point where most utterly most people have walked away from divine truth from what Jesus is saying.
Yeah. It's easy to hear that God loves us and there's life after death, but when someone says you have, you're very demanding of women, or you want everyone to work for you and do none of the work yourself, then then it's a different story.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, and as you're saying, it's good, but we don't realize it's good.
Yes.
Um, like I remember once talking to Cornelius, and he was telling me some of those very uncomfortable. things about myself, and I was like, "Fuck," and he was like, "Not fuck, good." um,
Yeah.
so, sorry for the cursing, but you'll get a lot of that with Alina, so be prepared.
Yeah.
Please be prepared.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, she's quite outspoken from what I've heard. Um, very refreshing. Um, so yeah, it's good, and I mean that probably links back to your question. Is like, I guess there's maybe um a mixture of why I haven't quit, why I haven't like spat the dummy, um,
Yeah.
and that is maybe partly to do with that I I can see it can be good, um, and so to a degree I can see that the love in it. Like I could feel the love, for example, in the email, especially the love in, the very careful feedback and recommendations they gave me how I could improve my life. And that I can feel like behind that, I can feel, I don't know how you call that, but like, if you have a feeling of how that's going to be, if you'll be like that. In my case, if I'll be a lot more responsible about my life, how much better I'll feel. Um, so I guess I could see enough of a benefit. Um, and I couldn't, while I wanted to deny things in certain cases, and I didn't want to get to the real nitty grittiness of it, but I guess I could see overall that they they were right. Like it is true. Um, I may be don't and want to see the extent of it, but the actual issue, yes, um, yes, it's not, it's there.
Yeah. So you do see that you do feel and see that they're loving, um, but you notice a lot of resistance to what they say inside of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the point where I left off is how is kind of how did I feel immediately after and how do I feel now?
Yeah.
Um, is that yes, I can so in answer to your question, yes. I mean, I have back 5 years ago when I met them the first time, and now I have had interactions with them that where they were so kind, so utterly kind to me, like
Yeah.
that even if in some moments I do not believe they're loving, I do think that Jesus is an ogre and Mary's you know, is a bitch. I have enough experiences. That feels really bad to say, but that's
It felt bad to
not
hear. I don't know what to say about that. Yeah.
um but yeah, it felt terrible to say, but it's I guess it's true. I'm not sure. Maybe I could have termed it differently. But um I
Yeah.
too also have really fond memories of where they have like Mary, Jesus, Cornelius, they have and Eloisa, they have been like extremely kind, extremely kind and not comforting, but yes, comforting even in moments when I've been seeking, when I've actually went to Jesus and be like, there's this huge thing that I've just heard, um, is that also my problem? Like, do I do that too? And then there's just so much kindness. coming. So, and they've talked to me about that difference when they're like in the feedback in Portugal, actually, when they're actually firm, when they have to be firm, and when they don't have to be. And
Oh,
because
interesting.
it's very interesting. It's a very interesting thing. I think if you can get past that, you'll have a lot of, you know, it's a very interesting thing. You'll have a lot, you'll have gained a lot. That's all I can say. Um, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Because yeah.
Hmm. I'm just thinking about what the difference is between you said firm and what else?
Kind of like, yeah.
Yeah. I can I say this? I I haven't seen AJ and Mary in person, and I've been like here in the States listening to these Australian teachers for about 10 years and pretty obsessed with them. And
Yeah.
I was like, I should, at times I thought I should go down there to Australia,
Yeah,
but
you should.
Helena asked me also like, hey, why don't you, visit? And my own thoughts were, well, they'll probably just give me the same feedback they give other people. Like, well, you hate women and you're in a really bad state, I mean, I'm not saying that I shouldn't put words in their mouth, but like I guess that's my own like internal voice, like
Yes.
how my how my own ears would hear what they say, I guess, if that makes sense. But
Yes.
like my own filter would be like, you're in a horrible state, you hate women, you're in
Yes.
hell.
Yes. Yes. And
Um,
then you'll be exactly where I was in the Thai restaurant. You'll feel, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Um, and
Yes.
I thought like, okay, I'll spend like $2,000 on, a round trip flight, $2,000 on accommodation. And the first day they'll tell me, you're very unloving, you need to leave now. And then I'll be so mad, I'll like run to where I'm staying. And then like by the night I'll have some ice cream and I'll feel better. And then I'll come back the next day. I'll come back the next day and I'll be like, maybe like I'm better now. And then they'll say, no, you're still unloving. We need to leave. And I'll be so upset. I'll like take the next plane home and I'll be so mad that I spent $4,000 on nothing. And then I'll never listen to them again. That's what like goes on in my mind.
That's a risk worth taking, Theo. That's a risk worth taking.
Yeah. And
No, but that's a lot of thought of potentialities you've put in there.
yeah. Oh my gosh, so much. But I guess and that's funny, but I guess going back to what I was going to say is that they were kind enough to organize a trip to the US. They've been to the US before, but this was before the time that I was listening to them. And I was able to see them in San Diego. And I thought similar things. I thought, like, at some point, I'm going to ask a question, and they're going to be like, Theo, you're so arrogant and you're extremely condescending and you're so angry. And I don't know why you're even here and stuff like that. And I'm like, once they say that, I'm gonna bolt out the door, and either cry or just like destroy the next
Would be
building
good.
that's in front of me. um, and one thing that happened, what happened was not that I greeted them and I got a hug from them, and that was nice. Um, and then at one point I asked them a question, and AJ was saying it's funny because like sometimes they seem to be like really direct, and then other times it seems like they make the conscious choice to not be direct because they kind of want you to find out on your own. Do you know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yes,
Yeah.
that's
Like,
true. He said that to me. Yeah,
okay. Yeah, because like
same with
you can develop a dependency maybe on somebody, like a fountain of truth that you always access. But if you're thinking a person is going to do that for you, you're probably in the wrong. And I should also say, like, God is that through our conscience, right? Like, anytime we want to know truth, we can always ask God through our conscience.
yes.
Yeah. So we do
Yeah.
have that. But to have anyway. So what I was saying was like, I asked him a question, and he wasn't like super firm, but he did kind of say like you can be arrogant. Like my question was, how do I talk to people about divine truth when they don't really want to hear what I have to say or something? And he said you can be very arrogant in in your attitude and your approach to people, and that can have the reverse effect where you're not helping them, but you're actually harming them. And the
Yeah.
way he said it was so gentle and kind, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is nothing like what I thought they were going to say.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I forget how that relates to what we're saying, but I know it does somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I still have a lot of that, like really false assumptions about, and in the end, it comes about love, I guess, and then it also directly links to God. How what I still have that tremendously. Like I don't know. It almost feels like I don't know when they'll be kind and when they'll be not. And it's a huge issue with for myself with God, I think. Um, Also, why I'm not asking God. Um, and it's kind of, guess it's yeah. There's so much to say, but
Yeah,
linked to a lot of faith that a lack of faith. No, that um they are actually kind. Like even if they tell you something very firm and straight up, they are kind. Um,
yeah,
they care about you and they mean the best for you, and that none of that is to deprecate you and to put you down. You might feel all these things. I certainly do and did, but none of that is actually true. Um, and that's why I mean, if you can make that shift, you've gained the world. Like, um, that must
yeah,
be utterly amazing to be so receptive and like know it's good, know it's loving, know you can change, know they mean well, no, like basically if you have that, you'll ask God for help, you'll ask God for his opinion. Um, like that's amazing. That'd be an amazing place to be. Like imagine, like
yeah.
yeah, very worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, for myself, like I asked God to help me to see how emotions, like I guess to see when I've released an emotion and also to see how that's changing in my life because I don't really believe that
Mm,
being
yeah.
humble to my emotions is going to help me. And so I'm
Mm,
looking for concrete examples of how it does help me. And yeah, I think evidence, you really have to put effort into it and take
yes.
time out.
Yes.
Like I know when I'm
Yes.
engaging my addictions, I'm not taking time out. I'm not really being serious about all the loving teachings that I've gotten up until this point. Um,
Mm,
and so it means I'm very much in resistance and I'm very much just using my own will, my own choices to say, No, I don't think that's gonna work. I don't think that matters. But I for some reason I still listen because I don't know. I see so much the opposite of love in the world, and for some reason I think that they are very much onto something with I don't know in so many ways I can't even begin to describe. Um, but I think you do have to take initiative and you do have to walk in a direction to prove what they're saying, and that requires serious commitment or at least some
And
amount of
hard
dedication.
work.
Yeah, when you're making an experiment, it's not like, you can't just do one little thing and look at the result and I don't know. I'm trying to figure
Yeah.
out an example. Like for me, if I tell someone the truth rather than lie to them, like I've been lying to them for a long time, I tell them the truth. And a lot of times I feel better telling them the truth, even though the result is they start yelling at me. And I can look at that result of, yeah, they're yelling at me and it doesn't feel good, but I actually feel really good inside of myself. And
Yeah.
so that kind of thing. Or like I cry for 10 minutes and then afterwards I feel really
Wow.
good. Like, yeah, wow, what's that
Yeah.
about? Stuff like that. And yeah. So I think over time you have
Yeah.
to find your own way to prove what they're
Yeah.
saying.
Ideally not like, yeah, but yeah. Like, I guess when you're saying over time, I guess it doesn't have to take that long, but not saying that I've got it figured out in any way, but um I I guess it when you said a little bit, I was like, no, no, it's like from what I understand,
Yeah.
it's like the more you like perseverant and sincere and you like the more you'll and really the more you're willing to put time and effort, the more and the faster you'll get results. Um, uh, Not that I have a great amount of faith in it, but I do. That must be true. If God's like, because God's not like unfair and whatever. It's like, guess you'll be rewarded for your efforts. And it from what I heard Jesus say, it takes very yeah some very dedicated people to apply this and to bring about change in the world. And wouldn't it be awesome to be one of them? It'd be like the best thing ever. Um, like it's mind blowing what the possibilities are with that. Like mind like mm, mind boggling.
Yeah.
Yeah, be utterly amazing. Like like the amount of bliss and I don't like I can't fathom it. Like like to have the opportunity, the chance to do that, be given that. Um, wow.
Hmm.
Like
Well, for me,
like
I'm not so
yeah,
much.
and the rewards. Sorry. Yeah, go on.
I find it hard to, in a similar way, like find like know the amount of bliss that is possible. I think more about the regret that I would have if I didn't. I've heard that's really awful and crushing, and like if you go to the spirit world and you realize that you haven't done much of
Haven't
anything
taken the
to, yeah,
so
take the
you
chance
already
to,
expect it's like when you go to Australia, you already completely have determined expect and you're sure you have determined Theo's gonna fail. It's all gonna go to shit. And the ice cream, I already bought the ice cream, already bought the flight back. And but funny enough, I've done that. Like when I was 19 and I went to Canada, I was like, no way it's gonna work. for me, for 1 year, probably after 4 weeks, I've run out of money and got to fly home. But all right, that's it. And then I couldn't, like, I would have loved to stay longer. So isn't it interesting how, you know, we believe so many things and they're just crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just utter crap. So,
Yeah.
it's very unlikely, like, if I can say that, it's very unlikely things will be like you think,
Yeah.
given the capacities you have. Not to uh, you know, put you down, but like, what do we know how things will be? And
Mm.
I think, man, like, it's going to Australia is worth it always, like, no matter
Mm.
what. Like, that's what I feel. Um, it's like the best thing you can do. It's like the best thing you can do to put yourself in that position. And yeah,
Mm.
and even if it's like, for me, the first time I was there was 2 days, maybe three. That's all. And I was in Australia, like, I was there for 2 years. That's the time I saw them. And I do feel self-punishing about it. Yes, I have a lot of regret about it. Probably, definitely. But was it worth it? Yes, it was. And yeah,
Mm. Very good. Well, it's been an hour.
it's been an
Um,
hour.
it has.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Um,
I've enjoyed the talk. I know that
yeah.
you said like you like me, chiming in too. Like you don't want it to only be about you necessarily.
Sorry, say that again.
Um, I've offered to like have an interview where you talk most of the time about your own
Yes,
life, and I think you said at least
yes.
that then that you'd like it to be more of a conversation. Is that true?
Yeah, that was, I initially said that because I felt very like there wasn't much use. But for me, it's good either way. Like,
Okay.
um, yeah, I thought about it, and I think it's, if you want to interview me, that's fair enough. Um, like, I, I, yeah, I, I do enjoy that. It's a great opportunity, and maybe, yeah, um, maybe there's nothing wrong about it. And yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I imagine if I ever did get a chance to interview AJ or Mary, I would
yeah,
probably just like I've watched other people interview them and like there's so much they have so much to say even before you start. I feel like I think all they really need is like a topic. At least
yeah. You
AJ.
need to listen.
Yeah.
Yes,
So I feel like I would
yeah,
say,
yeah,
I might have like 10 questions, but I doubt I'd get more than two out. And AJ would like give the whole frame around it and go
yeah,
right into all of it, and that would be enough, and I
yeah,
would just listen. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, it's possible that we can talk again if I have the desire and you do at the same time, and we could. I don't know. I don't know if I'd
yeah,
go more specifically into your own stuff or what, but yeah. The next
yeah.
thing for me
I
is to
mean,
listen is to interview Helena and see what's going on in her world.
that surely will be interesting. Um, it's always very interesting to listen to people who are out there. I've sent you a podcast by a woman called Yvette, who has interviewed a
Yes.
few people around Wilkesdale.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Um, I think what was it called? Exploring God.
Discovering God
I
or something.
yeah. But maybe to wrap things up, because I feel it's still I still want to fully answer your question, and also like yeah, I think I also like to um for myself to um yeah, guess kind of to say where I'm at with it at the moment. It might be interesting as well. Because I've so far covered how I felt immediately after. And yeah,
Yeah.
so if that's good
Yeah,
with you.
it is good. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go for it.
Yeah, so and maybe I should say that recently I had, like, I think a month or two ago, I wrote them an email saying where I felt I was at and where I thought I wasn't, and asking if I could come to the talks. And I got a very brief answer saying that I hadn't made the necessary changes yet. And I got some more feedback on how I had used um, and harmed my former roommate, which was tough but helpful and very true. And I can see how I do that now. I can see that now how I do that all the time with women, that I want that. Um,
Okay, good.
like in that case, like basically it feels like I want to consistently take advantage of women's kind of sadness and their wanting, like like thirsting for kind of a man to be nice to them and to be kind to them, and then I'm kind of willing to exploit that. Yeah, just exploit that basically. um I guess to avoid some of my own stuff. And yeah, it's pretty bad, but I, yeah, still largely want to do that, I think, emotionally. Um, so, and generally, I feel there has been a major event in my life where a lot of I'm I haven't been paid a large sum of money, like because of a job I did for a woman, and there's a strong likelihood that I have acted out this very same injury on that job. And I do find myself still very resistant and wanting to blame things because she has been unloving as well. But I wanting to blame things on her. Um, so I can kind of see that there isn't yet that full dedication to want to see my own stuff, Um, and and maybe because Jesus was also saying that we shouldn't focus too much on our sin, but actually more on principles, that, like growing a desire for principles that will pull us through our sin. Um, so I guess in some way I maybe haven't done that enough. So I haven't, um, yeah, there's some issues around one or maybe all of the principles that that mean that I haven't yet made made the changes that will enable me to go to the talks, which I'd really, really regret, but is a possibility. I hope I can make them until then, but yeah, we'll see how
Yeah,
that
so
goes.
we might say that it is now on the date we're recording this, it's the 12th of April, and AJ and Mary are doing a second world trip, I guess. And they're going
Yes,
to, do you know the countries they're going to?
in Portugal, Canada, and the US.
I didn't hear the first one.
England in
England.
May,
Okay.
Canada in June, and then no, sorry, Portugal in June, and then I I think
Canada in
Canada in,
July.
yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm currently wanting to go to the North Carolina in the USA talk in August. So that sounds right.
great.
So England, Portugal, Canada, and the US.
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
Okay. Well, anything else you want to say about that?
Um, yeah, now I feel like I haven't really like this, just my personal feeling. I haven't really covered that, like not to satisfaction on like to really answer um your initial question really properly. So I feel a bit dissatisfied with that. But I think we'll leave it at that for the moment, and maybe we'll talk about it again or we don't. But yeah, I do hope it's I don't know, it's of benefit and it's not the end of the world. And even if it takes me 2 years, which I hope not, but um, I maybe want to end it on that if I do make the change, I know things will be a lot better. Like it'll be kind of a breakthrough, I think. And it'll like I have friends who have grown sincerity in a way that it has been attested by Jesus and Mary. And I think once you're there, it's really you've formed enough, you've started to form enough of that snowball by yourself that it can start run like it's can start rolling. And so I really look forward to the time when I have dealt with it and I have like and I've gotten some momentum. So I'm still thankful it happened, and yeah, and the possibilities that can then arise.
All right. Well, I find myself wanting to respond to that and say that um, it would be awesome to say, like if we were in a second sphere or a third sphere condition and we could see the amount of progress we made and the amount of happiness we have in comparison to being in a hellish condition and being pretty angry all the time and in resistant emotions all the time, denying a lot of things all the time, we'd probably be in a better position to um, like people would be able to feel our conviction more about what we're saying. But while I look forward to that to some degree, I can't say I have so much faith in it because
Mhm.
I'm definitely not, doing enough work, I would say at this point. But I will say that I notice the difference between, like I talked about earlier, really not wanting to look at feedback and then working through some things and then looking at the feedback again and realizing, oh, this is actually a really nice thing that I got and it does apply to me. And I think just being honest about things like even if you're able to say if you're able to come to a point and say I thought I was loving in this regard and now I see that I'm not loving and I want to be. I think that's a
Yes.
pretty extraordinary breakthrough. And I've seen that at least for myself emotionally for several things. Like I actually thought I had some genuine love in this regard, and the truth is I'm actually very desirous to do the wrong thing.
Yeah. 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 I'm actually very unloving. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Julius,
Yeah,
I again appreciate you for your time, and we'll see if this recording is good enough to post. It sounds like your voice came through pretty good. Um,
that's good.
and yeah, maybe we'll talk again, and I'll maybe give you the chance to review this to make a final decision on it. But yeah, again, thanks for your time, and we'll talk again some other time.
Cheers, Theo. Thanks.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.